I would like you to just close your eyes for a couple of minutes. Okay? Because there is a big tendency when we speak and even when we live our daily life to stay almost stuck in the mind. We pay a lot of attention just through our understanding, and we are busy in a very understandable way to plan all the things that we have to take care of. Many of you have kids, and I'm pretty sure most of you have a job, plus all the things you need to take care of at home. So we are busy, each one of us in a different way. And this makes us lose connection with ourselves. So please focus on your breathing. And give a little time to yourself for the mind to become quiet. Try to be sensitive enough to perceive this subtle wind that comes through our nostrils every time we inhale. If you notice that the mind is still active and has a tendency to capture your attention, don't worry and don't get stressed about it. Simply put a quiet yet determined intention to stay focused on your breathing. Every once in a while, allow a deeper breath if your body asks for it spontaneously. And now simply pay attention to your abdomen while you remain aware of your breathing. Some emotion may arise, let it come in whatever form. Don't try to repress it. Feel your feet touching the ground without losing contact with your breathing. If there is some little issue going on in this period of your life, whatever that is, little decisions to take, something happening maybe at home, maybe at your work, connect with the inner state that this issue normally produces inside of you. And do not go into the stories that your mind will immediately start as a very natural response, we may experience some sense of uncertainty, fear. Now it is a very good moment to feel it in your body without trying to find solutions, without following all the rapids running in the mind, trying to tell you in which way you can approach the situation, what's the best thing to do, what's the pros and the cons of every option. Let the mind run by itself and keep your focus on your breathing and on your abdomen. And if you feel that you cannot, be patient. At least have part of your attention focused on your breathing and within yourself, conscious of your feet on the ground. Take a deep breath very slowly. And continue paying attention inside. Just a little bit longer. And now we will do together what I like to call the vocal breath. I give an example. It will feel a little stupid and you will feel maybe a little ashamed of doing it. Please follow the game. We will take a deep breath and then we will release tension, emitting sound loud enough for you to clearly hear your own voice. We go together. Another one. Very good. And now we gently open our eyes. So first of all, could you notice that whatever the issue you focused on, which of course hasn't changed in these 5 minutes, something was more at peace inside after just such a short practice? Who could notice that? Of course, whatever is there is still not completely resolved, so there is still movement. Okay? I want to go a bit more on the explanation part now, and I ask you to listen and pay attention to what I'm saying, but at the same time remain connected with your body. Remain connected with your breathing. Make an effort to stay as present as you can during this short time we're going to spend together. And if in the meanwhile emotion will arise, please let them come, okay? Because this is the first reason why we are meeting this night, and for you to understand what kind of work you can eventually do with me here in Evolutie in the future if you want, and why it is important to consider the possibility to take care of your emotional experience in life, possibly more than what you have been used to do until now, or what you did in the past. Okay? So, first of all, these three simple statements. First, we are multidimensional beings. Okay, for as weird as this may sound, the truth is that existence is not something linear, is not something that can be just understood, classified, and closed into a box through our very clever mind. Okay, that's a dream that human beings have had during a long time, but fortunately now, even through science, we are starting to realize that that's not the way it goes. And we are discovering it not so much through classical medical science, because we still need some time for this field to keep up with the most advanced discoveries, but in the field of quantum physics and in the field of neurobiology, where we study the physiology of the brain, the development of the brain, and how this has an impact on the quality of the life experience we go through, is coming strongly in game, giving us evidences that make it obvious at this point. Okay, I will not go too much into the science today. If you are interested, you can write me and I can send you information, or you will know in the next meetings you could eventually have with me. And also in the newsletters that we send, both me personally and through the Evolutie, you find links where you can go and just Google and read something if you feel like it. Because I understand that for many of us, and especially for men in general, and I know that very well because I am one and I've been super mental for most of my life, it is important to have some sort of scientific explanation of why something should make sense. Otherwise we have the feeling that it is all fantasies. Okay? Women in general, you have a higher capability of feeling, a higher tendency to be open for emotions and feel. Okay? So, this is a very simple and schematic representation of what dimension constitutes what I would call our human nature. It's not that if we start doing serious spiritual work, or if you don't like the word spiritual, because sometimes people have resistances toward that, simply serious personal growth, and discovering a bit more about yourself and willing to realize the dynamics that have brought you from childhood to be the kind of person you are, with your beautiful side and the side that make you a bit easily exposed to suffering in response to specific kind of experiences or specific flavors of emotions. Okay? But what happens if you take this work seriously is that you become more and more aware that there is something more. Okay? There is something subtler, there is something that is not so easily explainable only in our practical experience of life. And a sense of connectedness with life in general, others, start awakening inside. Okay? Because in the end of the day, we are part of the one same nature, we are part of the one same universe, and we are a product of it. For as much as our personality and our beliefs want us to stay closed into whatever image we have created of ourselves, whatever definitions we have created of life, the truth is that there is something that not even science can approach nowadays. We don't know what's the origin of the universe, we don't know exactly how to explain certain mechanisms, but we know they happen. Just to say something, since I've been so many years into it, you know, we do clinical trials to check if some medicines are good to cure specific problems. I'm sure you have heard about that sometimes. And to do these trials, we need to take one big group of people taking the medicine and another very big group of people taking something that does not contain the medicine, just water and sugar or water and salt, to make it very simple. Okay? But we know since long time of the existence of a very strange phenomenon, which is the placebo effect. And every now and then, even a bit more often, but let's say every now and then, it happens that persons in the group that does not take any medicine, only because they believe, because these trials are made in a way which is called double blind, meaning that not the doctors, not even the patients are allowed to know in advance if they are receiving the medicine or not. The group have to be completely random. And in the end, you discover that in ways that we still call miraculous, because that's the only word we have to describe things that we are not able to explain yet. It happens that a person, without taking the medicine, gets better, or even gets completely healed. Okay? And doctors normally take this bunch of people away to make the statistics. So let's say that if you have only 5% of patients not taking the medicine that got better, and you have 30% of persons taking the medicine that got better, you take 30 minus 5 and you say, okay, the medicine has a 25% of efficacy or activity. I'm very oversimplifying, but that's the way it goes. And we never really cared to go and try find out what's going on in this 5%, because this is relevant. I mean, if I can discover how these people got better without getting any medicine, wow, that would be some kind of revolution. But still we don't have the right mindset to really be interested in these things, and we will not enter in the reasons, because that's not the point now. Okay? So once we have said this, we exist on a physical reality. Your physical body, you can touch it, is material. We exist on a vital, energetic, or pranic, if you want, realm, which is the energy of your body, the vitality of your body. And you can be easily aware of this part of your life experience, because if you are at night and you want to go to the bathroom from your bedroom and you're a bit sleepy and the lights are off, and you kick without wanting your little table beside the bed, even if you are kind of lost and sleepy, you will realize you hit your toes. Okay? It's hard, it's easy to feel and to stay aware that we have it. Maybe not so much of the innermost side of your body, but the outmost part, yes. Even about our vitality, we are quite obviously aware most of the time, at least in the sense that we know when we are tired and when we have a lot of energy. You know when it is time to go to sleep because you feel exhausted, when you feel like dancing or doing something, going out with friends, or when you honestly feel like resting and take it easy. And because of the way we have been educated since the second half of 1800, basically, because that's the moment in which the public education system was put into being in most countries of the world, we spent a lot of time and we gave a lot of power to the intellectual development of kids. From the very beginning, we study how to make multiplication, divisions, how to write, how to read, which is absolutely important. I don't want to say this is a mistake. We have to do this. But we can also agree that we did not give a lot of importance to the emotional part of the experience of life of kids. Okay? And since this has been happening since long time ago, okay, and you notice that with your own parents, you probably have noticed that between your own parents and their parents, your grandparents. So imagine how it was even before, okay? Emotions were addressed almost like a disturbance, you know, something that is not really important, something that you should either repress, either pretend it is not there, or at least do not allow emotions to influence too much your life, because there is other stuff that are more important. There are serious stuff that we need to take care of. Can you find yourself into this habit? Now, again, every mistake or every improvement we experience as humans is not out of bad intentions, okay? We do our best. We've always been doing practically our best. And there was also clear external reasons, okay? Our grandparents, and before them even more, were not living in the kind of wealth and security we live nowadays. There were more issues related to survival that were kicking in much more in these periods of history, okay? So we had to care a lot about having enough food and having enough money and all this kind of stuff, and also for these reasons, emotions. I mean, I feel so sad and so weird today. I would rather not go to work. But you know, if you don't go to work, we don't have enough food tomorrow for the kids. So you know, the things were working very, very differently from the way they work nowadays. And when the public school appears, we start becoming very intellectual every time more. Everything is about being clever. Everything is about having an education. I'm sure that you have this experience. My grandparents were insisting so much. I mean, you can, so now you have to get your studies, you have to go to school, you have to go to university. This is super important. We didn't have this opportunity when we had your age, and that's the most important thing. Get your titles, get a good job, get a good salary, and that was all said out of love. There was no mistake either. Okay? But again, the emotional part was left aside. Okay? So because of this tendency, what happens is that basically we have been educated unconsciously to pay almost no attention to the relevance that our emotions could have in our life experience. Okay? So now imagine each one of these planes could be considered like a different body. Okay? That's why we speak about several bodies in many spiritual traditions, because that was an awareness that only by self-observation and conscious meditation came up already long time ago. Simply science was not able to demonstrate the existence of them. Nowadays things are changing. At least we can easily demonstrate the existence of the vital body. I don't know if you know, there is laboratories around the world that put you into a machine. They make pictures and they can make a picture of your aura, for example. They can see how your biomagnetic field is shaped, if it is in good condition, if it is not in good conditions. And this knowledge was there already from the early 80s, actually. There is scientists that were working in the NASA, for example, that then wrote books about this stuff, but they simply did not reach the big public. Okay? Now, you have a physical body. Now we have this energetic body, the typical hag. Maybe you've seen sometimes these nice pictures in here or there with the chakras and all these beautiful colors and all the explanations of what the chakra does, like a flower with I don't know how many petals. There is a lot of symbolism and a lot of fantasy in these descriptions. But there is also some truth, because it is real. We have energetic centers in the body that the more you become aware of yourself, the more you can actually feel and discover their existence by actual experience, not only by thinking about it. And they have a relationship with the biological, physiological functions of the organs that are closer to it. And of course, they also have a connection with certain regions of the brain and certain activities in our psyche that includes both emotions and thoughts, basically. So what happens is that our emotional body is being forgotten. Okay? So how can we imagine this body? Imagine that it is like an organ, okay? Like your nose is there to detect smells. And so wherever you go, if there is a smell of something, either you like it, either you don't, you have no choice but perceiving it. Okay. Something similar happens with our emotional body. There is emotional energy around, because we know already since long time by science that everything is made up of energy. Everything is made up of the same kind of organization is in the air and is in the wood, for example. The difference is that the wood is much more compacted and the molecules cannot move so much in solid materials, while in gas, molecules have more space, they can flow more, and so forth. You can have gas that are more compressed, and they are less. So we already had a sense of this from our studies in physics, I guess, in school. We've been studying different states and these kind of things. So emotions are real. Okay? It is a matter of fact that from the beginning of our life until the end, whatever situation we face, whatever experience we go through, we are constantly exposed to an emotional response. Okay? We can be aware of it or we can be completely blind to it, but there is no choice. Okay? It is a matter of fact. And nowadays we start having data about the importance of this. If you read the mail list I will send you, you will read website from Harvard University, from the most important institutions in the world, who now have entire faculties, entire departments dedicated to how the emotional experience have an effect in shaping the constitution of our brain and vice versa. That's why there is a lot of studies, for example, on kids who are exposed to extremely difficult environments, and we now know that these kids have much higher probability to develop all sorts of problems in life, not only at the mental and emotional level, but even physical level, even actual diseases. Okay? And this is data that is there since some years already. Emotions, or emotional energy, if you prefer the expression, flow inside us, and the way we react to them affect the quality of our life. So let's go to our actual experience. We have this knowledge already since a long time as well, that there is every alive organism, every actually component of the universe, from planets to atoms to ourselves as human beings, we do live in a sort of energetic field. We do create an energetic field just by being alive, okay? What is called the biomagnetic field of a human being. And if you look how these fields work, it is always the same, okay? You can see a beautiful documentary which is called Thrive, that now is getting more and more famous, already out since a few years. It explains very well this system, okay? And this system is called toroidal system, if you like to know. You don't need to remember this thing, but just out of curiosity, okay? So, the energy in every system convects there is a movement of convection that goes up from the center and fall down on the sides. Okay? So every kind of energy that we experience, from electric, biomagnetic, emotional, whatever kind of things we go through, please stay in your body and feel your feet in the ground, has to follow this stream. Tendentially, it always follows this direction. That's why then we speak about the aura, and we depict the aura like this egg. Okay, the egg is actually there because of this reality. Okay. Now imagine that every time you experience an emotion, this emotional energy, whatever its flavor is, has to go through this system. That's why we believe that only the heart has to do with feeling and with emotions, but that's just a romantic idea. In reality, emotions mostly are perceived either in the abdomen, either around the solar plexus. Okay? But it is true that we can feel them also in the chest, and we can feel them in the throat, and eventually we can feel them in the head until they have not completed the cycle, and so they just keep moving like everything else in this world. Okay? Everything is supposed to stay in movement, to keep going into its cycle, because when the cycle is blocked for whatever reason, now the energy cannot keep itself clean anymore. Like in water, you know, the still water gives opportunity to a lot of stuff to grow, and if you want to drink and you are having a walk in the forest, well, you don't go and drink in a swamp of still water, but you go to the river, and where the water is flowing, there is where you can fill your bottle or your glass and enjoy the water of the mountain. So everything functions a little bit like that. Now, that's why, since very old time, and we have this expression in our common language, when the emotion is particularly intense, we speak about there is something going on in here, there is a sense of pressure, or we speak about the butterfly in our stomach when we are attracted to somebody or something is moving. When we are very emotional, generally we have a response at the stomach level. Either we don't feel like eating anymore, either we become over hungry and we try to stuff ourselves with food. Have you noticed that? I'm sure that most of us have this kind of experience. Huh? So it's a bit like the t-shirts I wear this night. Now imagine that you have these bubbles of emotion which are moving inside ourselves on the time, and they have very different colors, and each color is associated to a specific flavor. So the emotion just wants to flow, like every other energy in this universe, just wants to go through and keep its journey, keep going. But because of the experiences we went through in our childhood, sometimes even during pregnancy, but I don't want to go there because it becomes a little more complicated, so we'll speak maybe of that in another occasion. Yet imagine where we are while in the womb of our mothers, and if you now start realizing that most of emotions start being felt in the abdomen, well, it is actually there, okay? It is kind of obvious. In any case, we cannot feel so much in the legs, for example, because it's very muscular, okay? The same for the arms. When you become very sensitive, you detect emotions flowing through your legs and arms. But now we are starting, so let's take it easy, okay? Let's stay on the basics. And now, after we have our butterflies in the stomach, they try to keep going. And sometimes you start feeling pressure on the solar plexus, because of the constitution of this part of the body, it is almost a bottleneck, okay? Almost every emotion needs to go through here. Okay? Breathe and feel while we speak about it. And now they have to keep going, and you can start feeling that also in the chest. Okay? And if they keep going, here we have another bottleneck. Okay, they cannot go much. They don't have so much space like in this region. They need to go through the throat, through the neck. Okay, I remember. Well, here we have two persons that had a lot of sensitivity in the neck during a long time. I don't know if it's still the case for Lindsay. I know it's still the case for Celine. And eventually, they go through the head and they will get out from the crown chakra. Okay? So we have this idea that this sadness doesn't go away, or this anger is still hunting me, or I fell in love. We have this idea that the emotion is bigger than us and is taking us somehow, but it's pretty much the other way around. The emotion is just trying to go through, okay? But because of the sensitivity and the preferences that unconsciously we have developed when we were kids, imagine, like, I always do this example, I hope it's not too nasty for you, but imagine when you are a little kid and you enter the bathroom right after your father went to the bathroom himself, okay? So the bathroom is very loaded with a pretty heavy smell, okay? The reaction of the kid, of ourselves as kids, will be like, there is something that wants to, because the smell is not very pleasant. So we try to contract and avoid ourselves from perceiving that smell. We do something very similar with emotion. It's just that we don't know it. Okay? So when the emotional experience is being a bit intense, hard, we are confused because we don't know exactly what is going on. We are so dependent on our parents because they are our whole life at that point of our existence. Now, when that emotional flavor was going through in a given moment of your life, let's say that you are at home and you are sitting on the table and your mother come back and she's a bit upset because something went wrong at work, okay? And you're waiting for your mother to serve your meal. So already in the atmosphere, there is a sense of tension, there is a sense of you didn't really know what was going on, but we are very sensitive as kids, because our emotional body still doesn't have preferences, so it's completely wide open. And you perceive something. And right in that moment, your father enters and he is a bit upset for his own stuff at work, and he enters the house screaming, why the food is still not ready or whatever. Huh? And as a kid, there's nothing, it's not such a big deal, but for a kid, it's another little impact, okay? And so again, there is a bit of tension going on inside. And now your older brother comes, and like always we do between older brothers, hey, and he gives you a little, clap on your head. In that moment, it's like something inside starts to contract. Maybe sometimes to such an extent that it will be muscular, sometimes it's just the little parenchymas and the micromusculature inside the body, so you don't really realize that is going on. You cannot be completely conscious of it. When you become adult, if you work on yourself, you can start detecting it, even when the emotion is not super intense. Otherwise, what we all do, either we want, either we don't, is feeling it when the emotion is particularly intense. That's why we all know that sometimes we have this disturbance in this region of the abdomen, okay? Most of us, at least sometimes, have experienced pressure in the solar plexus, a sort of pain here, and it's not something physical, there's nothing wrong. The doctor told you that your analyses are good, and there's nothing going on with you at the health level, at least the most obvious and physical aspect of health, and yet you feel this pain, okay? So, for fun, and because we have millennia of education coming from the spiritual traditions all around the world and all the different lines of spirituality, we can also say that generally when you have something that feels hard and tense in the solar plexus, generally it is a matter of not wanting to let go, okay? There is a connection with the experience of attachment. It can be emotional attachment, can be physical attachment toward object, toward wealth, toward material stuff, or can be even mental attachment when we don't want to let go of some ideas, we want to be right, because we love this mind against mind, and trying to demonstrate the other person that I am right and you are wrong. This can generate some sort of pressure here. When it goes more up and we again contract, now the pressure that you feel here generally is associated with a lack of compassion. You cannot be really clear about what is going on. You're not being able to expand your view and see that overall, whatever you're living or whatever is happening is not so dramatic. Okay? You see it so dramatic because you're looking at it from a very narrow perspective. This speech, sometimes we say that you have a black dot on the beautiful white wall, and you're so concerned and so worried about the black dot that it is almost the only one thing you can see. But if you take a breath and make a step back, there is a whole white wall and I wasn't even aware of it. Okay? Just to simplify the example. When the emotion gets stuck here and we have disturbance in the throat, there is an issue with forgiveness. Of course, I'm saying words that in our normal vocabulary have a certain meaning. If you keep coming in the future, if you want to find readings about it, you will discover that all these names that I'm speaking about have to do with very important virtues, which are studied in every spiritual tradition. And when you look at the compassion, forgiveness, the issue of attachment and freedom, or the issue of control from the spiritual perspective, it is a whole new word compared with the few meanings that we have attached to that just through our vocabulary, mental experience. Okay? So just take it as a curiosity for now. Don't get stuck on the meaning of the word, please. But in the throat, generally, there is an issue of forgiveness. Since forgiveness is important for all of us, I will quickly mention that in general we believe we should forgive others because they've done something to us, or we should forgive ourselves for something that we have done in life. That's nothing to do. When you go deep into the experience of forgiveness from a personal growth perspective, the thing is that to experience real forgiveness within, you need to become able to separate and distinguish the event, whatever that was, whatever happened, either if you did it or somebody else did it, and the emotions you experienced within and the inner state you experienced while this event was happening, and become able to break this link that we put in our mind where we truly believe that I'm feeling like this because he told me that, or I'm feeling like this because my father always used me to behave in a certain way. No, that event is gone. It's long dead, okay? It doesn't exist anymore. It's in the past. So it's a complete illusion of the mind. But every time you think about it, you reconnect with this experience inside that you still did not take care of appropriately. So now I'm here to tell you, you can take care of it. And that's the third statement. Whatever experience we live or we have lived in the past, we can still discover happiness no matter what happened. Because our discomfort has nothing to do with the event in itself. Our discomfort has to do with the process we are looking at in this other side of the world. It has to do with the inability of our emotional body. Please, share with us.
I cannot explain. I'm so sorry.
No, enjoy it. Okay. Let's take a moment for the love. Feel, because somebody can connect with the joy and somebody else is feeling a little weird. It's fine. It is emotion. Okay. In whatever form it comes. So, what happens? That's the reason why we have preferences and we don't even know why we have our preferences. Because in the example we were making of the kid waiting for the meal to be served by his mother while all this combination of episodes was happening so that something contracted inside. So in that moment, you will develop a preference against the kind of food that you were served on the table. So you don't know why, but I don't like vegetables, or I don't like whatever. And you will never be able to remember until you don't start to do all this work I'm introducing to you today. And then slowly, eventually, you will discover, oh my God, look, and now I can feel it. And you integrate and do your work at the feeling level about this experience, and all of a sudden you can eat the thing again. There is many allergies, there is many intolerances that are actually because of these experiences and have nothing to do with your enzymatic background and all the medical things that we normally check for these kind of problems. Exactly the same happens for the kind of emotions. So let's say that your brother at that moment came to do that joke to you. Every time you feel bullied by somebody and you have the sensation that the person is not respectful enough toward you and is, taking joke of you in a certain way along your life, you will get in this, you will remain a little bit stuck and you won't really know exactly how to behave, because when that contraction happens, we are not even able to speak or think correctly anymore. That pressure radiates on the other planes of our existence. Now we will look a little more to this. When the emotion manages to cross also your neck and throat and tries to get out from your head, we are also capable. So you remember what I said before, we believe that emotion is trapping us. No, it's us unconsciously trapping the emotion. So now it was here and you are perceiving it like the smell, okay? Let's say that you have a preference against it and you don't know it. Call it sadness, call it anger, call it abandonment and loneliness, call it whatever you want. You will block it unconsciously. And so now you feel it there. Okay, now you relax a little bit, you let go, and slowly it can move again, and now you trap it again in the other side. When we trap it in the head, and in the end, is when we experience migraine or headaches and all these kind of problems, which have a relation with the issue of control. We are a little bit of a control freak. Each one of us is in his own way, okay? And we would like to decide how life is to manifest for us, instead of embracing and being in gratitude for life exactly as it comes. Okay? And so this will produce pressure in the head. Now, let's say that I don't know how to depict it, so I'm going to try to be creative. Let's say that this is your emotional body, and because of all these experiences that we just mentioned with the kid, your emotional body gets a little bit deformed, and it creates a sort of, how you call it, pocket, okay, in different regions. Each one of the pockets was created in a very emotionally intense moment of your childhood, of your very early childhood, and you really don't know. And this pocket remain filled with a little bit of a specific emotional flavor. Okay? Let's say anger or hardness, let's say loneliness and being afraid that somebody will stop caring for you, for example, or maybe rejection, okay? Or something that many people experience, which is not so obvious but has to do with rejection, this feeling of not belonging. Some of us sometimes, or many people who come to session tell to me, I have this feeling that I spend time with my family and I can cope with it and I'm with them, but I feel like an outsider. I feel like I don't truly belong. Or you can have this kind of experience with your friends, or maybe you have this experience and you still don't even know, and there is just a sense of weirdness. Please, both feet on the ground and open your chakra system. So now these pockets will have a double effect. First of all, every time you experience this kind of emotional flavor, you will react to it, okay? Because your emotional body already developed a preference against it. So every time you're exposed, you will feel it even more because it will get in resonance. I don't want to get too much in scientific vibrational details, but it is actually in resonance. So the sensation will amplify. And these pockets will also have another effect, which is from the moment you become conscious enough, they will be asking your attention. They will be saying, please, experience me consciously, because then I can flow out again. Because you see, energy, like everything else in the universe, just wants to go. And we have created these almost scientific approaches like neuro-linguistic programming and stuff like that. We call it like cellular memories, because we start becoming aware that we have emotional memories stuck in the physical body somewhere, and we can intervene from different approaches to allow you to experience this thing consciously and let it go. Right? But until this doesn't happen, this thing will be radiating. So imagine a bit the example of you throw a stone into a water, into a well of water. Okay? So what happens? Your emotional well of water, every time you experience that emotional flavor, is like pop, a little stone is thrown inside. And now the waves, like the circles that are created in the water when you throw a stone into it, will expand. Okay? And they will start making you feel mentally moved. You know, we have difficulty to focus, so we get stuck on a certain pattern of thoughts, and we know this. As we know that we experience emotions in the body, not only because we speak about it, but because we actually feel it, we also know that when we are stuck into an emotion, a negative, let's say, emotional flavor, we have also a tendency to synchronize our mind on negative thoughts. We get into worries, we are worried of the future, we are confused about what to do, we are afraid of what could or could not happen. But when we are at peace on emotional level, your mind flows. It doesn't get stuck on these things. It's not necessarily focused on negative possibilities. It's simply more objective. And the same happens at the vital level, because when we are moody, to say it in a way, we have a tendency to also want to stay at home. We don't feel like meeting other people, we don't want to go out and stuff like that. And on the long run, like it happened for many of our grandpas and people before them, and sometimes even for people of more recent generations, because we still have to really start learning how to take serious care of this aspect of our life, it will impact also your physical body. And eventually you will develop an actual disease. That's why more and more, fortunately nowadays, you have medical doctors from all around the world who are starting to write books associating specific problems in specific organs or regions of the body, or even specific diseases, to specific emotional flavors that you have been unconsciously hiding under the carpets inside of yourself. Okay? And that, during years and years and years, finally starts affecting also your physical body. And the difference between all these bodies, basically, is how compact consciousness is in each one of them. How compact this energy is. A bit like when we were making the comparison between the floor and the air. So that's why the mind moves very fast, because it is already very light, it's not so dense. If you want to change your mindset, you simply open a book and your mind is completely into it. That's why we are so addicted to telenovelas, movies and series, because your mind is happy. You just go fully into the story. Now, if you are in a certain emotional state and you want it to change equally fast, it doesn't work. Doesn't work simply because, imagine, it is like comparing water with oil. So if you open the water in the tap, the water will run through very fast. But now imagine that you take 5 gallons of oil and you throw them in the sink. Even if you throw it as fast as the water, it will take much longer to go through, simply because it is more dense. Okay, so it is almost a physical problem, a physical region. It takes longer to flow through. That's why it is important to learn how to take care of our emotions and learn to consciously relax into them. And the problem is that we have keeping this automatism for a lifetime. Okay? So now let's say that a person like Celine, that now has been working with me since quite some time. She's been working with me for 1 year, maybe. She is a bit upset sometimes because she still falls in drama. No? When there is a specific emotional flavor and she is not able to be positive while she's experiencing whatever, let's say loneliness, and she gets a bit negative about it, she gets a bit dramatic about it. And she gets a little angry because I've been working on this 1 fucking year, and why I'm still not completely done with it? Well, you've been constructing an automatism within yourself during 20, 30 years for the most of us. So dedicating 30 minutes of conscious work on this aspect of your life every few days during 1 year and having a drastic change in your life already is pretty much a success. Can you notice that?
Yes.
But we want always to be ahead, and we want things to go faster than they naturally can actually go. Like a kid that wants to be immediately an adult because, he's in love with his parents and see them like super powerful. And so he wants to get there, but there is a few years to go in order to get there. It doesn't matter what you like. So, tendentially, if you have a big issue with some aspects of the experiences of life you went through at a certain point of your life or with a certain emotional flavor, you will get to the point in which you become aware of all the drama you do about it in an automatic fashion after 6 months or 1 year if you are dedicated to the work. But now, from that point, to actually become completely free from that emotional flavor, that does not mean that you won't experience loneliness anymore in your life, because loneliness is just another flavor of life, okay? So sometimes we do feel lonely, that's a fact. Either being in the middle of people, either being actually physically alone, that's an experience that sometimes we all have. And we cannot choose it. You cannot have control on the emotional energy which is flowing all the time. So, did you choose last time you got hungry? Or a moment of disappointment towards somebody because of something that this person told you or an attitude that this person had with you? Well, you can get to a point in which whatever the other person does, whatever the other person says, whatever is going on in your life, and whatever emotional flavor this experience carries within, you don't need to react to it. You don't need to freak out about it. You don't need to dramatize about it. That's why then you have stories like the one of Sakyamuni Buddha. Rich nobles of his time had paid a murderer to actually go and kill Sakyamuni Buddha, because his ideas were against the caste system. So many nobles and many Brahmins were not in favor of the kind of teachings he was giving, because people was becoming more free thanks to what they were learning with Sakyamuni Buddha. And some, not all, but some of the powerful people of the time were kind of upset and were not agreeing with the situation. Now, when the murderer would come with intention of killing, the amount of peace Sakyamuni Buddha would radiate from his inner state, because he would have not cared to die. He had already reached a state of consciousness in which all the reality and the mysteries of the universe were there. So he was perfectly aware that he could not die. He would, only that physical body would have died, and he was completely at peace with that. So was so much the peace he was radiating that during 4 different occasions, the guy that was there to kill him would just fall on his knees in front of Sakyamuni, saying, sorry, master, I don't know how I could even think to do something like this. And Sakyamuni would just bless him and say, if you want to be a disciple of mine, you would always be welcome. And this is in the books, but there is stuff also with Jesus that you probably have heard about. So, yeah, just to inspire you. I don't want to go too much into these stories, but when you start getting how this game goes and you start experiencing it in your own life, recognizing that you are not Jesus yet, but you're not even, the crappy human being that you were a few years ago. But I'm not speaking about myself, I'm speaking about everybody, because you see, we have this idea of putting these great masters on a pedestal, and that is exactly what they would have not wanted. These teachers went through all their path of growth and evolution, which was hard and was rich of daily practice at many different levels, not to show how good they were, but they wanted to show people that you can make it. If you simply do the practice and take it seriously and keep working on yourself day after day, you can live such a transformation that you cannot even conceive it now in your mind, because you are still so stuck in the dream of the little me that you won't even be able to conceive what is possible. And all starts with this very simple thing, okay? Because we are not open to life. So, to conclude, and then we go for a short meditation, we will finish 10 minutes later, because we started 10 minutes later, if it is okay for you. So, the difference between a very unevolved human being and an extremely evolved human being, let's say what we call enlightened masters and so forth, is just how open can you stay to life? How much of this constant flow of reality you are accepting without any resistance to come through you. That's the only difference. Okay? You can be very, very contracted and very, very close toward life, which is completely fine, because it's not a competition. It's not that somebody is better than somebody else. I'm just trying to invite you to understand what may happen with yourself in certain moments, or with people you're close with, when you have the feeling that you are almost talking to a wall, and you would like to connect, you would like to feel this deeper connection that you feel with some other persons, or maybe with your kids, because the kid, as I told you in the beginning, still did not develop the resistance. But you cannot. The wall is within. The wall is between one and oneself. The wall is that resistance that is not completely available to whatever flavor of life that is flowing through in every instant. And it takes a lot of experience, it takes a lot of work to really slowly and progressively completely open yourself. And of course, for some of us who had particularly difficult moments in life, maybe in childhood, maybe during the adolescence, experiences that are a bit hard, where we need a bit more work than somebody who had a very easy life. In general, because it's not even always like that, but tendentially we have to admit that there is a clear pattern, and people who had the most difficult path also need a bit more work to open completely to life. But on the other side, they are also the persons that have more push from within to go and look for this inner growth. So it's a balance. If you are very comfortable and always in your comfort zone, you don't really look for help, you don't really look for growth, you don't even consider the possibility that you could become simply a more open person. You are completely locked into your simple reality. While an enlightened master, a person like Jesus or like many, they are still alive and doing a very amazing job nowadays all around the world, well, they are completely open. For example, angels are conscious beings that are so tremendously open to everything that they cannot lock themselves into physical incarnation anymore. Okay? And that's why mystics that have capability to visualize, at least to a certain extent, the flow of energy, because there is people, normal people, that are simply born with the gift and they can see your aura physically. Personally, I cannot see your aura, I can feel your aura pretty easily. I know many people, even of my age, even without a great spiritual work at their back, at least in this lifetime, and they can actually see stuff. So these kind of people will see these beings, and the energy flow will be so tremendously strong that now they see these rays of light coming out from the crown chakra, because it's where it is more intense, and then falling down on the side of the egg. Okay. And now, guess what? If you see this thing, you will have the impression that this being has wings. Angels don't have wings, they don't need it, because they are ubiquitous, they can move tremendously fast in every reality in any case, but that's the way we symbolize them. Okay. That's the reason, because you see the energy. I know that the mind will be a bit struggling with some of the last information I gave you. Please for now just take it as potential curiosities. If you are connected enough with yourself, you will feel that your body is saying yes to some of the things I'm speaking about, because there is something deeper than the mind that is very available. So now we go for the final practice. If you allow me, are you okay? And the final practice is resumed by the last sentence that I put into evidence. You only need to take care of your emotions and learn to consciously relax into them. Okay? Because the last thing, it's very important for you to understand. And that's the limitation that psychology have been experiencing until now. Now also psychology is changing, and not only through Gestalt, but through many different approaches, we are starting to learn more about transpersonal stuff. But the limitation of psychology was that we were just, looking from the mind and making sense of whatever experience we went through in a too rational way. So it helps, because that's something that you have to do in any case, but it's not enough. Okay? So the only way to resolve your emotional blockages and become more available at the emotional level is to go and experience directly into the emotional plane. And when I say to consciously experience your emotion and relax into them, it means that there's something more than your human nature. Or, you see, in every tradition, you can call it the higher being, you can call it the soul. It doesn't really matter how you call it. It's just realizing that you can be conscious of your thinking process, but you can also take a breath and go deeper than that. In the Advaita Vedanta, an Hindu tradition, there is a very simple, effective approach to that. They call it, look for your inner witness all the time. Look for your inner witness, inner witness. Meaning that it comes a point in which you can be aware of your thinking from a space within yourself in which you see the opinions of your mind and you are not really moved by them. So it is a little complex in words for the mind, but it is called meta-consciousness. You can be conscious of the fact that you are conscious. So from this capability of paying attention in a way that is not stuck into the opinions of the mind, not stuck into the story, so what certain tradition call the soul or the higher being, from this high is from where you look at the activity of your mind. From this eye is where you observe your emotional reaction inside while you connect with certain experiences of your life, etc., etc. And this is what you can learn more and more with persons like me. Okay? You will get more and more the capability to observe yourself without being so stuck into these reactions. Okay? And with time, you can observe that the reaction is happening, and yet it will not affect the way you act in life. It will not affect the way you respond to people, the actions you take or the actions you don't take. We discover freedom. True freedom is not doing whatever we want. True freedom is freedom from oneself. It's freedom from our own automatisms. The problem is that until a certain point we are not even aware these automatisms are there. And the quality of our life will improve exponentially the more we do this. That's why everyone who starts a serious spiritual path very difficultly will leave it afterwards, because call it yoga, call it breath work, call it emotional integration, or a mixture of all of them, which is what I suggest to everybody, the quality of your life experience will improve so much that there is no way back. It will feel crazy to stop doing it, because it's so much the benefit. Take a deep, slow breath. Remember, the first thing we always do is spend a little time just focusing on the breathing. Try to make your exhalation a little longer than your inhalation. If you notice that your attention goes with the mind, there is no problem. Just be patient and bring back your attention to your breathing. And now, while you remain aware of your breathing, pay attention to your feet on the ground and stay aware of your abdomen. And use your mind just as a tool to bring up a memory of a recent or past experience in which you felt very troubled inside, whatever that is. Maybe discussion with your husband, maybe a discussion at work, maybe a reaction to something that somebody did or didn't do for you. Keep feeling inside, paying attention without trying to understand or explain or justify anything, simply feel. There is fear of not being understood, not being accepted sometimes. Sometimes there may be shame of what other will think if they know that I do what I do. For some of us there is a sense of pride, a sense of hardness, like having to defend ourselves. Or having to attack back because somebody lacked respect for us. And this natural energy arises within and start taking control over us because we don't want to feel it consciously. Breathe and relax into it. Don't get worried if the sensations in the body become a little intense. It has been there for a long, long time. And you're just starting to know how to take care of it. as open as you can. And if you feel tension somewhere in your body, just focus on this tension and put the intention to gently and slowly, patiently relax into it. If you feel disturbance in your throat, focus on forgiveness, which is the deep, humble acceptance of whatever we feel, with no struggle, no resistance. Now take another deep, slow breath and slowly relax the conscious feeling and focus on something lighter. Even if it is not resolved yet, be thankful for this first little experience on how to deal with your emotions. And now let go and focus on something that feels lighter. Imagine that every cell of your body is like an happy face, one of these yellow stupid smiley that we use in chats. And allow a smile to come on your face, even if it is not completely real. Simply force it. Yes, just put the shape of a smile on your face. Trust, it works. Also, this has been long time scientifically studied. And if still some emotion comes and some tears wants to come out, don't try to repress them. Don't even dramatize them. Let them come spontaneously, naturally, with peace, shanti. Gaia. We stand up for a moment, please. Just stretch your body, even if you don't feel it right now. Please just make a little space in your physical body. Yes. Move your base. Take a deep breath and keep the air inside for a few seconds. You may feel a little bit dizzy, it is normal. Just don't fall on the ground. And we sit again. Angelini. Do whatever you want.
Thank you so much. The happy. One of my favorites. Thank you very much.
You're all welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, it was a very squeezed experience. Just know that I'm here 1 week or 10 days every month. I will be here 3 more times until the end of February. Then I go on the other side to South America and Central America for a few months. Then I come back in Europe, so I will be back here like in August or September, I guess. Every time I come, we do an intensive workshop during the weekend, and at the end of the second day, normally we finish with a concert where also people from outside can come if they want. And well, know that we will repeat this kind of session every time I come. So I normally come from Wednesday to Wednesday. The first Wednesday we will have one of these reunions, but specifically oriented for kids and parents. Feel free to share with other persons that you feel believe could benefit from this kind of work. And know that the rest of the days I am available for personal sessions. If you want to go more intensively, specifically on something that you believed and that you need to resolve and you still don't feel comfortable enough for doing it with a group, or if you want to do it also alone and not only with a group, like has been the case for quite some people this last year. This that you're listening is my first CD. I recorded this year. It is sold here in Evolutie if you like to have it. All is oriented to healing and emotional liberation, but it's also it's music, see? The electric guitar. And thank you, because we are here for you, for people who want to discover how to work within themselves in this direction, this way.
And I can say that it's a very good time.
Thank you. Yes, that's it. We can stay here as long as you want. I really don't have to hurry in any way. Actually, this is the second last song. If you have time, I wanted you to listen this one, which is a bit more, and the last one, which is about gratitude, so that we can connect with this experience of gratitude, which is fundamental in life. And gratitude, actually, the spiritual definition of gratitude is pretty much what we're speaking in the end. To be grateful for life means to stay open, to stay available for life. That's true gratitude. And that's why gratitude as a virtue connects with the experience of satisfaction. And there's nothing to do with the politeness that we normally associate with gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because gratitude is a feeling, it's a state of being, a state of consciousness that is independent from the fact that somebody is doing something specifically for you. It is just a state of being. And we can get there. And actually, all gratitude, all the virtues, including gratitude, are already inside. The problem is that they are covered by all these layers of ego that we've been constructing around them consciously. And so it takes some work to actually connect with them. Also for people who've been doing this for many years. Sometimes I'm stuck and I can only recognize that I'm not being grateful in a certain moment. accept it until I feel grateful again. And I'm thankful for it. It's a progressive work, and we are all on the path. And don't be scared if it looks, because sometimes we have the feeling, in the Hindu tradition we have the example of the mountain and the shadow. So sometimes we look inside at the beginning of this kind of approaches, saying, oh my God, it's gonna take forever because I have to shovel all this mountain of things. No, that's not the way it goes. It's just the mind that needs to create this feeling that I have to do it. It's much more spontaneous. You keep evolving, you're more and more open, and eventually, if you like to think it like that, you will become a planet, you will become a constellation, there will be so much consciousness flowing through, and so much virtue to give, that you decide to become a reality that sustains the life of infinite other beings like our Mother Earth. That's why in the indigenous tribe all around South America they call about the divinity Pachamama. It's the divine mother. And according to many of their legends, long time ago, Pachamama was a person, and before an animal. And then it was so much the love she had to give that the best thing she could do was to become a plant. This song is called Drops of Gratitude. So if you want, we just close our eyes and we listen to it, and I shut up because otherwise I never stop speaking.